Today we will be replacing front and rear struts on a Lexus. First, go ahead and remove those front wheels. Then we want to disconnect the ABS wire. Careful not to damage that wire or the sensor. We can go ahead and remove the lower strut bracket. We also need to disconnect the tie rod end. You may need to give that a few hits with a hammer to get it to release. Now up under the hood, we need to remove some of those plastic covers. Then we can go ahead and remove the 3 nuts at the strut mount. Then you can pull that strut out. On this application, there's a piece that needs to be transferred over. And this video shows changing the strut cartridge itself by compressing the spring, removing that upper strut mount nut, removing the strut mount. Make sure you watch the orientation on that and clock the bolts in the right position. You want to change over the lower strut insulator to the new strut. You can feed that up through the spring and start the nut by hand. Then go ahead and tighten that down to the torque spec. And here we're going to be reattaching that lower bracket that needed to be transferred over from the old strut. Now you can see he's installing the new strut. Once you get it into place, you reach over the fender and start those strut mount nuts by hand. Then you can go ahead and get that lower bracket bolt in place. Going to tighten that nut. And then you can reconnect the tie rod. Plug the ABS sensor back in. And then tighten those 3 upper mounting nuts. Put the plastic undercovers on, and you can attach the front wheels. Now moving on to the rear, go ahead and remove those rear wheels. And for these, you have to access the upper mounting nuts through the trunk. So you move enough of those panels out of the way to access those upper mounts. Then underneath the vehicle, take out the lower bolt. And you'll need a pry bar to move that lower control arm down enough to remove the strut. Again, making sure to be careful of the brake line and the ABS wire. And there's 2 bolts that need to be removed from behind that wheel well as well. Again, back over to the spring compressor. Remove that nut safely and pull the cartridge out. In some cases, it's probably easier to get a quick strut assembly that has the spring and a new mount and all the pieces already assembled. There's no need to compress the spring. Go ahead and transfer over the washers and the bushings to the new strut. And then also that lower mount as well. Place that new strut into place. Slide the mount over. Start that nut by hand. And then go ahead and tighten that down. Once it's all assembled, you can remove it from the compressor and start placing it back in the vehicle. Those 2 bolts under the wheel well. Reconnect the ABS wire. And then pry that lower control arm down to get the strut into place. Now back inside the trunk, we can tighten those 3 upper mounting nuts. Reattach the rear wheels. And you will want to get the alignment checked, and then you're all done.